Well, I think it's a great match and a great learning for us. We talk about wanting to make progress every game, and I think today was an opportunity to do so. The intensity that we played at in the first half, that the match was played at, was very high, and we weren't able to maintain it throughout the 90 minutes. And to me, the feel in the first had a playoff style match to it. And so what we learned is we can do it. We can hurt teams at that level with that speed and that intensity, but it's difficult for us to maintain it. And we lost some momentum. We had to make a sub at halftime, and give them a lot of credit for capitalizing on the few chances that they had. And so overall, I think it's 17 games into it, halfway through, 25 points. And, our goal now is to just keep getting better. And if we do so, I think we'll be in a good position.
Alex Calabrese, MLSsoccer.com. First question, just a really quick one. With Mauri coming out at halftime, was there an injury or was that just a tactical sub?
No, he needed to come out. He was injured. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but he said he couldn't keep going.
And then broader, this is now, as you said, the halfway point of the season, roughly. At this point, it's 1 win from 7 at home. As the sample size continues to grow, do you think there is something underlying, or is this just, bad luck over and over and over again?
No, I wouldn't call it bad luck. There's some games that we played terrible, and we didn't deserve a point at home. And some games we played really well and didn't get a point. But I'm concerned. Of course I am. Home games you have to win, particularly in MLS, to really have a chance. So we got to get better. I think our fans deserve better results. I know the guys tried hard. I know they put everything into it. I'm happy with that, but very disappointed with the result.
Tim Hotsey, Minute 97. Thanks for taking the time, Greg. Not looking to give you an excuse here, but the Fire had a number of absences. Center back is a position that the team's very short on. Philip Zinkernagel out with a personal matter. How much do you think that played into the team's, just like a shorter bench effectively, of like proven players, played into the team not being able to maintain the intensity for 90 minutes?
I think that's it. That's part of it. But again, all those are just excuses. I mean, think about the disservice we'd be doing the rest of the players, if we said, we weren't good enough to win the game or we didn't have enough quality to win the game. We're a whole squad. It's everyone. It's every player on the roster is part of this thing, and we have to call on different players at different times. And today was an example of other guys needing to step up. And like I said, I think by and large we did a decent job. That's a good team. I told the group that I think they're ahead of where we are right now in terms of team development, and the collectiveness, and we need to keep growing.
Jim Alexander, Realtor. Coach, wanted to ask you, with the Club World Cup starting tonight and the World Cup a year out, Chicago's not going to see any games. Basically, we have the Fire as sort of to hold it down for us. But even though it's a political thing, how do you sort of see Chicago not being involved in such big tournaments that are happening all around the country, and this being a world-class city and a big soccer town?
Yeah, I think I'm somewhat surprised. Because Chicago is a soccer town, and it is surprising that we're not involved in Club World Cup, FIFA World Cup. A little bit disappointed because, you wouldn't have to travel far to see excellent games. But I understand the reasoning, and, it's something where, it is what it is. But, I'm sure that the Club World Cup is going to be a huge success. We're cheering all of our MLS teams on throughout that journey. And the Club World and the World Cup itself is going to be massive, and it's going to be, even in Chicago, the wave's going to hit, and it's going to be amazing.
Liz. Hi, Coach.
Hello.
One more game here at Soldier Field. The other games outside of Chicago have been pretty good, and the results have come and really nice. But tonight again, it's like that. That what's going on? Why it's hard for the Chicago Fire to get a victory here at home?
Yeah, I think we weren't good enough in decisive moments. I think we played a good match. I think there were really good moments of the match, But in the deciding moments, in the penalty boxes, we weren't good enough. We had a number of opportunities to score. We didn't do so. We gave away, I think, 2 poor goals, if I'm honest. And when you do that, it's difficult to win games. But overall, when we look at the match, the real takeaway for me is about us being able to maintain our level, and we weren't able to do that through the 90 minutes, and that's something we're going to need to work on.
Coach, you touched upon the losing the intensity from the first half, and I thought a lot of the triangles, the give and goes, and the even 50-50 balls were almost superb in that first half. Do you feel like towards the second half it was more of a trying to force those balls into areas that kind of lost possession and the game sort of crumbled for you guys?
I think it's somewhat about movement, and really taking the time in some possessions. I think especially early in the second half, we gave the ball away too easily. We had some quick attacks that were too quick. We should have kept the ball, tried to move them around, tire them out a little bit. So then I think the cumulative effect of that is you get fatigued. And to me, it comes down to we weren't able to maintain our actions in the second half, opening up for the ball, closing down the ball, making the tackles that you're referencing. I think a lot of that has to do with a loss of energy and the intensity in the match.
Dr. Joe?
Greg, I know last week we talked about Martin Haile Selassie's
Yep.
performance in training leading up to the game then, and then it seems like he had another strong performance today. How important is it for him to have this confidence in his game, especially as, Philip not here today, but will be back in the lineup, but just to have another option at that winger spot?
He's an X factor for us. From day one, I really admired what he brings to the team. He was injured, and then he came into preseason, started training. We started to see possibilities, right? He solves things. He's very good in the attacking end of the field. He has the mindset to work and contribute. So, I consider him really important for the team, and it was good that he was able to get these minutes in these last couple games.
We'll go Alex, Tim.
One more for me. I just want to ask what your thoughts were on Kellen coming in at halftime, given that he didn't play a lot the first half of the season, but the last couple of games has, played a little bit more.
Yeah, I think in general, Kellen did what he could. I think he made some good plays and was involved in some good attacks. And I think overall, we weren't happy with the entire team the second half, but I certainly wouldn't single out Kellen. And I think he did well in the time that he came in.
So, the window in MLS opens pretty late in the season, and especially if players are coming from abroad, that's pretty late. So the improvement that you talked about, you said that Nashville seemed to be further ahead in their program than where the Fire are right now. How much of that growth do you think is going to be internal, and how much of it do you think is going to be from bolstering the squad?
I hope it's going to be a combination of both. That's what we're counting on. I told the group that I believe in them. I think it's a good group of guys. It's a dedicated group of guys, guys that really apply their profession each and every day on the training field. But there's no secret that we need reinforcements. If you look today, we didn't have a center back on the bench. In our depth chart, we had Davila and Sam Williams coming in at center back if we need to make a change. So just think about that. We were limited and limited in attacking positions. We had 2 young players on the bench, Vitali and Jason. So we were down numbers, but hopefully we get those reinforcements.